Welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk leadership in the boutique retail world. What does boutique retail refer to? We're talking anything having to do outside of big box retail. So think wireless store locations, think AV places, think appliances, pretty much things that would be a lot smaller than a big box retail or department store. We specialize in something specifically, and oftentimes it's not just the physical product that we're selling, but also the services that come with it. That's typically the primary product we're actually selling is the services, and the secondary is the actual physical products, right? Because we want to make sure people get this stuff done correctly, either installed, set up, or working properly. Or oftentimes, in a case like wireless, it won't work without the actual service. But we're talking about how we as leaders can become better, get better performing teams, and what does that look like? What does that mean? That's the whole series of Sales Manager Academy podcast is for you to have a place to go to because oftentimes you feel that your company doesn't have the right resources, they're not investing in development, in coaching resources, training programs, anything like that. And when they do, it typically feels like it doesn't work or it just something that's flavor of the month and then they move on from there. And you're just running around doing fire drills and you're just tired of doing that. You want to have something consistent. You want to be able to rely on your team, not feel like you're a chicken with your head cut off, running around trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. How are we going to fix this today? Why am I being blown up at 8 p.m. by my executive leadership because of performance? I don't want to be blowing up my team. Why can't I take a vacation and not have to worry about emergencies happening in my territory? And that's what we're here to solve. That's what we're here to give you something to take away that can help you become 1% better so that you can make your team 1% better. And that's going to go a very long way in making sure that you're far more successful than what you thought possible. And today, we're talking about pushing back against the belief that great leaders are born, that you need to be charismatic, extroverted, to be able to lead high performing teams. The reality is, you don't need a magnetic personality. What you need is a system, a habit, a discipline to coach daily, right? To be that trainer, to be the coach for your team that they desperately need. And that's honestly the biggest thing that's missing for a lot of smaller companies. Spending just a small amount of time and investment in focusing on training and developing on things that actually matter. I'm not talking about doing 8-hour data dumps that those don't work. The research shows that that's probably one of the worst things you can do if you want to change habits because the majority of people don't have the proper systems in place, don't have the habits built to make the right changes afterwards. So it makes you feel good and then it deflates you because it just goes away after 30 days or less. So you don't want to miss the point of leadership, and that's to not be naturally charismatic. There's no such thing. There is no natural born leader. Leaders are built, leaders are developed. That's what we need to focus on. Okay. It's not about being the loudest, it's not about being the most extroverted. That doesn't create inspiration, right? You can motivate people, but you can't motivate people to make habits daily, to create new patterns that are going to change the way that they do things. So, your personality is not a system. You have your own personality developed, and you cannot instill that personality into other people because they haven't lived your experiences. They haven't had the life choices that you've had. So their experience is always going to be different. And that's why you can't go into, for instance, like the hiring process saying, I just got to find the right charismatic individual that's going to be the next top seller. If you're going into interview process looking for people that are going to be the next top seller, instead of saying, you know what, this person has certain characteristics, that means that they're coachable, they're trainable, we can develop this individual and develop their craft, their skills to that next level. If you're not looking at it from that angle, you're setting yourself up for failure as a leader, as a sales manager. Well, Omar, I just don't have the time. You have the time. You have to make time for everything in your life. If you don't make time for family, family goes by the wayside. If you don't make time to work out or eat healthy, your health goes by the wayside. If you don't make time to go out and just blow off steam, whether it's going out with your friends, grabbing a couple of drinks, going to the golf range, going to wherever, then you end up stressed. You end up more stressed than you wanted to be. So you have to make time just like you do with everything else. But making time doesn't have to be this big, exorbitant amount of time. And that's what most people think when they're talking about training and development. It is a commitment, just like everything else. I joke with my wife that I have clothes that are older than our relationship. And we've been together for a while. And the thing is that I don't hoard. I have no issues throwing away things that just isn't it, right? But I do have certain set of clothes that I've taken care of. I've had for a very long time. I've enjoyed wearing. And I told her one of my big things, I'm looking to, cut back to my weight so I can fit back into those clothes like nothing, right? Because some of them are like college tees that I want to pass on to my kids when they get older, fraternity clothes, stuff like that. So obviously, it's a little bit more of memorabilia. But that's one of the things about having some kind of commitment to do things. It doesn't take a long time to do things, right? You're not talking about I have to do this for 8 hours every single day for the rest of my life. Spend a little bit of time training and developing others compounds over time because you're building skills that they're going to be able to cement and utilize right away and learn from and develop into their own through their practices, through their daily usage of them. Okay. So don't focus about being liked as a leader. What you need to do is focus on a system that's repeatable. Do a set routine, habits that you do over and over again when it comes to coaching. That's why one of the things I talk about all the time is making sure that you set up your schedule when you do your store visits and you prioritize doing a coaching session as an area manager, as a district manager. I don't care if you got 3 stores, I don't care if you got 30 stores. Prioritize doing this because your local leaders, your store managers, your store leads, your assistant managers, they will see you doing it and they will understand that you inspect what you expect. You expect them to do coachings as well, properly, and you're giving them that venue for them to see what that looks like so that they understand, okay, I'm doing it correctly. And they're leading by example in this case, but they're not doing all of my coaching sessions. They're setting some up for me, they're showing me how to do it, and then boom. And that goes a long way. Okay. Because at the end of the day, too, your top performers, they don't care about your fucking charm. If it doesn't mean that their wallet is getting bigger, they're not going to stick around. Your charm is only going to be a small reason why they like the job. The bigger reason is, does this afford me what I want out of my life? Does it allow me to take trips? Does it allow me to buy things for my Jeep? Does it allow me to, buy photography equipment? That's the biggest thing that they care about. Okay. They don't necessarily care about the money itself. They care about what the money can do. And that's what doing coachings consistently means for them, that you allow them to get better by helping them, by guiding and mentoring them, by allowing them to problem solve and create new neural connections, neural pathways that allows them to create new behaviors. And that's what we're after as leaders. Okay. And everybody craves, employees and everybody, is to have some structure and consistency. It's not about, okay, well, they only come once in a while. They don't really do anything when they get here. I've seen those kind of leaders. They refuse to be on the floor. They don't want to spend any face time with any of the employees. And it's like, well, the fuck are they doing as a leader? Because obviously they're not doing anything. And that's what it feels like for the front. Oh, they're spending time with the store leaders. Okay. The store leaders also in the back most of the time. They're not leading by example. They're not trying to make any change and they wonder why certain behaviors, certain actions aren't taken or we're missing certain KPIs. Well, operations got to get taken care of. Guys, we live in a boutique environment. Yes, there are operations. And if you're being drowned by operations, there's a bigger issue. Oftentimes, fixing sales habits through coaching, developing, mentoring people will reduce the amount of time you spend having to fix administrative issues. Okay. Because typically administrative issues is inventory issues. And that's going to go a long way because it allows you to ensure that your people are doing things properly and they themselves are reading things properly because they're not afraid of things. They're getting after sales, they're getting their quotas, they're overperforming, they're hitting the right KPI metrics. They are surpassing everything that you could have thought possible. And that's the important thing. So build a coaching schedule for yourself. Don't wait until something goes wrong to start focusing on leading coachings, on focusing on that. Because remember, guys, coaching sessions and write-ups are two different things. They are not the same. If your response is, well, yeah, I write my people up and that's how I make sure that they get their performance up. No, you wonder why you have employee attrition and you wonder why your culture sucks. Well, you have no culture. It's because you're not focusing on training and developing your people. Your immediate response is, okay, I hired you and I didn't spend time training and developing you the proper way, but it's your fault. So I'm going to write you up. And if you don't perform, I'm going to fire you. That's what that means. That's where the disconnect is. It is your job to bring people up, develop them, and train them. I remember once I took over a market, and this is a store manager that I had hired for a different district manager. Uh, and did great. The guy was hired on as an associate, moved up, became a store manager, and I was doing a store visit and I was like, "Hey, so what's going on? Tell me about this new hire that you have." "Oh, they don't got it. They're not coming. I don't see why they brought them on board. I He's just wasting my time." "Okay, so what have you done to train and develop them?" "Well, they're just not getting it." I spent some time at the location, observed what was going on, and obviously you could tell the guy had not been trained. He was eager, he wanted to, but the leadership at the location had not taken time to properly train them and wasn't spending time developing their people. So I spent some time, talked to the manager, let him know, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I ended up swapping that employee, putting him in a different location where a manager I knew would be able to train and develop them and have the patience to do it. And guess what? He went from being an underperforming employee to being one of my top sellers, moved to a location that turned into a flagship location as well because they were doing so well. All it did was change the environment from one that was not conducive to coaching and developing to one that was. And just spending a little bit of time training and developing this person turned them from an underperformer to an overachiever. I wasn't through threats of write up because we deserved better for them. They deserved better for themselves. And I offered that and I brought that. That is one example of performance change that can happen. And it's oftentimes lack of training and developing that causes the issues. And that's why I say it doesn't matter how charismatic you are. It doesn't matter if you're extroverted. I'm naturally an introverted individual, but I will take time to speak with people. I will take time to reach out. And that's very important because you need to guide people. You need to mentor them. They need to know where they stand. Keeping things from people it's not conducive to anything. It doesn't create a culture of trust. But being open about performance, being open about things allows them to understand, okay, when we do a coaching session, they're not coaching me because they're going to write me up. They start to understand that. So they're not afraid of doing coaching sessions. At first, there is going to be some hesitation because they feel that it's going to be a write-up. And that, once again, should never be the case. You should never be doing coaching sessions and guise them as write-ups. You should never be doing a write-up and guising it as a coaching session. They are not the same. They are two separate things. They are not the same by any means. And listen, as a leader, you're going to understand one thing, that you're never going to be perfect. There is no perfect leader. You have leaders that you admire, that you follow, that mentored you, guided you, and you understand their pitfalls. You understand some of the downsides that they have. Right? They're really great at this, but they also suck at this part. That's perfectly fine. As leaders, we're not designed to be perfect. We're human. Our people are human. But the most important thing that you can do for your people is to be present. And when you start doing coaching sessions, when you start focusing on training and developing, you're letting them know, I value you as an individual. I am present. I am here to help assist you. I am not hiding in the back room. I am not avoiding anything and then blaming it on you guys. I am present. I'm helping you move forward. I want you to develop and become better. The growth opportunities that you have within the organization are going to be amazing. And if we don't have any growth opportunities, if you leave for an opportunity that's better, hey, kudos to you because we're never going to have all these open positions all the time for growth. And that's perfectly fine. Maybe they're not willing to relocate because they got family, they're going in school, whatever the case is. Okay. That stuff is perfectly fine. I've always told my people, I want you to grow, and I would prefer you grow with our organization. And if you don't, and you find a better opportunity somewhere else that offers you growth when we're not able to, hey, I wish you the best. I will support you. I don't want to lose you because even when it means that you have growth opportunities within the organization, I'm going to lose you because it often means you will not be in my district. You will not be in my area. That's perfectly fine. They need to know that you're going to be present, that you're going to stand by them. And that's very important for your people. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be in the room helping ask better questions when you're doing coaching sessions. Because remember, guys, in coaching sessions, the person you're coaching should be doing 80% of the talking. And you're guiding the conversation, just asking questions. You're speaking about 20% of the time. I get it. I've been in those shoes, I've been in those roles, and I know that the majority of the time, we have a better understanding of what they can do right away to improve. The issue becomes in the ownership aspect of things. When you tell people to do things, there is no ownership on their path, on their side to do anything. You're just trying to check things off your checklist. I had this conversation with them, boom. That doesn't do anybody any good. Learning to coach the proper way goes a long way. And understanding the psychology behind proper coaching methods gives you better tools as a leader that will allow you to have less employee attrition, less employee churn, better performing employees, faster ramp up periods for new hires. It's going to look like markets have turned around drastically and you have no idea what the hell from a macro perspective what's going on. But it just comes down to focusing on training and developing on coaching. And that's going to go a long way. Okay. Now, as a leader, the things your team will remember isn't going to be the big speeches. It's going to be the small moments. Those moments that was an aha moment for them, turn things around. I've said this before, I've shared it with you guys, where in one of the positions I had, my district manager was about to let me go. Why? I was a college student. I was here. It was a job. I didn't really see it as a career. I couldn't care about it for the most part because I had focuses on other items, right? But just by luck, he happened to be there when I did essentially what was a perfect pitch. Okay. All the services, all the products, in a very fluid conversation style where it was very natural. And that changed their perspective where it went from this person's not doing well and doesn't want to this individual has the skill set. So are we not challenging enough? Are we not, what are we not providing? And mind you, this was an organization where I was training managers as a rep. They would put managers in my locations, new managers, to make sure that they learned the operation side of things. Because I always helped manage with the operations. I knew the operations like no issue. If they had an issue at a location with operations, they would put me in there to make sure that I would help turn it around, or at least help uncover what the issue was. And that was the biggest thing. So it's easier to retain your people than it is to hire a new person and then ramp them up. It typically takes about 9 months before an organization will get their money back on a new employee. And that's after they've been hired. Okay. Not from the time they do the posting, for the job, it's typically about a 6 to 9 months, and mo for most companies, it's about 9 months, especially when there is no training and developing, to be able to break even on the cost of hiring that new employee. And that's some of the things that changes. When you focus on training and developing people, you'll retain employees better. You'll have less employee attrition because employees won't be running for the doors or running at the first opportunity that comes up for them to change jobs. There's going to be less stress as a leader because you don't have to worry about, I need to fire people. I need to constantly be answering these questions. They're going to get calls at 7, 8 o'clock. I get it. I've been in those shoes when I've taken over markets, the over stores even. The first few weeks are very drastic because everybody's blowing you up. I don't know how to do this. What do I do about this? But when you start doing coaching sessions, when you start focusing on training and developing your people, you help them to problem solve, to find solutions or look to try to find solutions before they reach out, right? Have I tried doing this, this, and this? Okay, let me give them a call. Hey, boss, I've tried doing this, this, and this. Okay, this is the stuff I was going to ask you to do anyway. I've tried doing all of this. It still hasn't worked. I haven't figured it out. And oftentimes they end up finding the solution as they're talking to you, but those calls drop. And I will say this as a leader, it's kind of lonely when you're not constantly getting bombarded, but it's also such a satisfying feeling to know that, hey, my teams can get things done without me constantly being overbearing, without my phone being off the hook, without me needing to constantly blast them. It's such a great relief. But you have to understand that as a leader, it's not about you doing rah, 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 blowing them up on the phone. It's about those small moments you spend in developing your people because they will remember that. It's the small habits that we do on a daily basis that create drastic change or everlasting change. Those once in a blue moon or once in a moment, like rah, 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 where you try to motivate your people, you try to do this big old speech, it can uplift for a little bit, but there's nothing that's going to come out of it that's habitual. There's nothing that comes out of it that your team's going to be like, okay, I'm going to take this to heart and this is what I'm going to do next. But when you're doing coaching sessions, they're taking something out of that coaching session that they're going to turn around and use right away. And when they do that, they see better results and they'll be able to connect the dots faster. And that allows them to use that more often. Because remember, guys, in sales, 60% of the time, it works all the time. It's not about it working 100% of the time because it's not. But when it increases my batting average, it means I'm going to have more hits more often. So a small increase is going to be a drastic change in performance. And that's what we're after. That's what we want to help our people with. And when they start seeing that and they start getting that 1% better, that 1% better allows them to see better results, better paychecks, and you as a leader are going to have a better time. And you're not going to stress as much. You're going to enjoy your time more. And you will have, just as your team will have, better opportunities available for you. So remember, guys, your personality, a personality is not a system. It is not repeatable. And that's one of the core things when it comes to coaching, that you set up a routine, a habit, but you also make it repeatable so that your people, your sales leaders, are able to use it as well and continue those coachings with or without you. Okay. Best leaders, we're not perfect, but we're present. We spend time training and developing our people, letting them know that we want you to become better at what you're doing, and I will spend time to help you get there. That goes a long way. And then focusing on the small moments, not on trying to do big speeches, not on trying to make this big drastic change all at once. We focus on small changes, small moments that will make a more impactful change because it'll become more habitual because it's easier to digest, easier to take in, and I see results faster. That's how they will see it. So stop waiting to feel like a leader and start practicing actual leadership by starting to help coach and mentor people. And you will see that not only will you go a long way in developing yourself and your career, but your people are going to be far more grateful because you spent time training and developing them to become better at what they're doing. And they know that you as a leader give a damn about your team, about them as individuals. And that means more to them. And it's going to mean more for your leadership as well. All right, guys, I'll leave it there for today. So if you have any questions, things like that, reach out to me, send me a DM, right? Leave a comment, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys, once again for taking time and spending it with me here at Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I am Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.